Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Zombie Train. This is episode 227, and I'm your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Trainman. I am here in Tane SP2, and if you want to hear me talk about Tane SP2 and deal with everything that's going on in Tane SP2, and of course continue to work on the town of Olive, which is getting fairly close to completion now, go and check out Under Construction for this week, which should be coming out at around the same time. So, anyways, to move on to the question this week, it was asked by Vincent Berken on episode 201. So let's go bring up episode 201. I did a little bit of prep for this. I was just trying to remember, things. On the train 201. And I realized that the sort of story involving this place didn't start as late as I thought it would. Ow, that was loud. Where is it? Oh, okay, so Vincent Berken asked, are there any in Tennessee? And he was talking about the O4Os because I talked about how we use them as little shuttles. And my response was, no, there weren't any of those, but there were plenty of other engines. So it was, of course, obligatory at that point that I talked about the various engines at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. Because I had a bit on Tennessee before, but I didn't actually touch on these engines specifically. And I think I did get asked. Anyways, just as an aside, the TVRM has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 engines currently at their thing. They've got a Mikado 4501 Stallion. They've got a Consolidation 630, another Mikado, which is Kentucky and Tennessee number 10. An American type number 349. A U.S. Army engine number 610. Doesn't say what kind of wheel arrangement it is, but I believe that's another Consolidation. A Pacific, that was one of Blount's Pacifics, and a Decapod. So, in order of ease of getting them running, obviously the first one is 630 because it was already running when we got there. Now, just to take a step back though, when we got there, I had screwed up. I thought the first time we went there was to poach steam engines for the sake of the Zombie Train Incorporated. And I'm not sure poach is the right word, but just, take. But I realized that we actually went there earlier. Earlier, I was trying to see what I could do, sort of with the coal mine situation. And I took some tours through, the south. I took a tour through, some tours through that area where they had mines, even though this is a little bit more southerly than where I intended to go, just because we sort of got pulled off track by some people, to get places, by some weird radio calls, as it always seems to happen. And, came meandering down the rail line into Tennessee. Or into Chattanooga, really. Not Chattanooga proper. We swung to the east, and we followed this little line which was all bunched up with freight cars, and ended up at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. Now, the first thing about the place that I realized was that it wasn't too messed up, even though most of the areas surrounding it were, infested pretty badly with zombies. The museum itself didn't seem to be bothered, and was relatively empty and untouched. I don't know why this was, but I found it a little bit strange, and I also found it strange that there weren't really too many signs of conflict in the area. Apparently this side of town did a pretty good job of evacuating, or dying, but mostly evacuating in this case. We ended up finding a small contingent of survivors outside, at a town called Collegedale. And they basically had the university there all boarded up, all blockaded in. We didn't get there by uh, we didn't get there immediately, but we just headed out that way because, we sort of heard rumors when we were in the area with the few people that survived, just in the general area, that, I heard these people holed up in Collegedale. And so we ran our train through the Collegedale Gap and found a pretty hefty number of people, like on the order of a few hundred people that were surviving in this area. And so we, proposed to them, hey, maybe you should use the 630 that's at the TVRM and, do some stuff with it, get yourselves spread out a little bit, because they were in a tight spot. But they didn't really want to do that. So, we just sort of said, okay, well, here's our radio frequency. If you need to contact us, you can go through NOAA. They pretty much monitor everything. Blah, 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 blah. That's the regular rigmarole. And then we left. But we scoped out the area, and we figured, it'd be a really good place to come back to. And so, when the Zombie Tune Incorporated started, it was one of the first places that I sent a team. And it was a relatively small team, because I just sent them over to Collegedale, and Collegedale had grown in the meantime, and they didn't really go on the other side of their little ridge, but they were doing very well for themselves, to be completely honest. And so, that was a little bit of a light in the darkness, so to speak. And it was like, okay, well, you guys are going to go down there. I said to my team, you guys are going to go down there, you're going to go talk to the people in Collegedale. Get them to give you some help. Because, we had, we could sort of just tell people to give us help, now that we had them, once we had the military, on our side, I mean. And, they were good about it. They didn't give a fuss or anything. But, so we went out there, we asked for their help. They gave us like a dozen people, or they gave us like a dozen people, and they went down to the museum there. And once they got there, they realized that, it hadn't really been badly ransacked. There were a couple of broken windows here or there, but that's just fairly typical. There had been something in between, like there was definitely some sort of shootout nearby, and one of the buildings, like one of the warehouses across the street had burned down. But other than that, there wasn't really anything too bad. Thankfully it was one of the warehouses, because there's a thing down the road that's all oil tanks and stuff like that. It didn't spread. It was just some sort of distribution center or whatever. Anyways, so everything was pretty much fine. And even better was the amount of stuff in the general area. You've got all those industries, which we didn't use the industries for industries most of the time. We started to later in that area, because we could. But there was there was storage, and there were warehouses, and, there was basically everything that you could need. And it was super duper helpful and super duper awesome. And so we actually we did use the industries very, in a limited sense, in order to fuel the ability to run trains. No, wait a minute. Where are the, one of the things that struck me about the museum is we showed up and it's like, where is the inside? Everything is outside. And then we realized that not everything is right there, which was a little bit confusing. But anyways, we got 630 out there. We worked her up to the museum. Or they did. And then they set about restoring the engines that were there, and they didn't even have to leave. The place, made me uneasy, and I was concerned about sort of what's the amount of zombies in Chattanooga coming. And I suppose, in the end I didn't have to worry about that. I sort of ate my words a little bit, because I was like, you guys really need to be careful, and they're like, we'll do whatever. That was at least the mindset of the people from Collegedale. We'll do whatever, we'll work it out. And to their credit, they absolutely did whatever. As far as I heard, that was like one of the noisiest outposts that we had during, restoration times. Or even just at regular. And so, now to go back to the list of engines, so to speak. The first engine to come back was actually 4501. 4501 was in the middle of a rebuild, so it wasn't that hard to to complete the rebuild. And once 4501 was in, that meant they could sort of go greater distances and grab parts. Now, the first, the issue was that some of the engines needed some pretty significant parts. And the TVRM, thankfully it was surrounded by stuff and made up for the fact that not everything was on site. Because the first thing we did was try to get as many things as we could towards Collegedale. Or, just keep them up at the TVRM and get the area secured, like the actual museum area itself. And so, once we did that, then they could run shuttle missions, basically, back and forth for parts. But the biggest problem with actually doing anything really significant is 4501 was the main mode of power then, and could go around and do things, but that's only one engine that can go around and do things. And at this point in time, we didn't have a lot of other engines, so sending something down to help was not that feasible. And they were a little bit stuck. They wanted to work on number 10, but they would have basically had to build a new boiler for it, which they did. But that was not going to happen right away. That was a huge undertaking, and number 10 was, I think, the last engine restored. The next one was U.S. Army 610, and that engine didn't quite have what they were looking for in terms of getting around power, but at the very least then they had something to operate the area, something to go on medium range missions, and then something to go far distances, which was, 4501 was still the distance engine. Even still, the distances that it covered were not that great, and we still needed something productive out of the area. So we pushed for another engine. Now, at this point, we sent another engine down, but they went to work on 5288, which is the Canadian National engine, the Canadian National Pacific, in order to get something that could go distances rather quickly. Once that was done, they turned their attention to the other two, and the 440 was done first, and then number 10 was done last. The 440 was then used as the yard shunter. 630 and 610 were running medium distance and occasionally coal trains. 4501 ran medium to long distance and usually got stuff in and out of the area, including some significant coal trains. And then 5288, the Pacific, was generally a shuttle train for either parts at long distance or people at long distance. And then what's the other one? Oh yeah, the Decapod. The Decapod was primarily a coal train engine. But that oh yeah, that's right. Oh wait, no, sorry, the Decapod wasn't there. I'm forgetting. It was in Duluth. Anyways, the Decapod was one of the engines that we sent in for work, or to do work there. because it was there previously and they had some of the records for it and stuff like that. So, anyways, those were the Tennessee Valley engines. I know there were definitely some people asking about those. And the story of Collegedale, well, a small part of it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. And I've got an extra second in here, so Trainman out.